everyone. How are we doing? Oh, love a wave, love a wave. Yeah, let's get comfortable. Hi. Oh, this is such a sweet vibe. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Emanuela Morsey, I'm your host, and I'm so excited to kick off this amazing talk with Marla Kether. We're gonna hear so much more about your work. Yes, a little woo woo. Yes, a round of applause, please. Yes. Oh, amazing. And, you know, in case you might not be super familiar with a lot of Marla's work, you're about to be. I'm really excited to kind of share a bit more, particularly going through just the kind of the eclectic style you have, and actually through the kind of across the, what was it, over 30 million Spotify streams. But also, you know, the work you've done, you know, releasing your recent EP in November, and actually what that has meant for actually expanding the sounds and seeing how the Latin percussions is mixed with a lot of your Western and also Nigerian, that's me, Congolese heritage, not the African and me jumping out. We're all just sisters, it's fine. But yes, and being able to really celebrate actually what it means to kind of navigate the industry on your own terms, navigating what it means to play with amazing heads like Loyal Kana to Yazmin Lacey to Obongjayar, and what that actually, how that's influenced your style, but equally how you've been able to kind of develop it for yourself. So, particularly to just kick off, as an established artist, a musician, a DJ, an incredibly talented and emerging producer, what has your journey been like? And actually, how would you define your sound?
So first of all, I'd like to say hello, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. And it's been really lovely to hear your tunes as well beforehand. So yeah, sorry, could you repeat the question?
Of course. So as an established artist, DJ, musician, and producer, actually, what has your journey been like? And how would you define your sound for yourself?
So my journey started off basically when I was 12 years old. I started playing bass guitar after getting a Nintendo Wii, getting Guitar Hero 5, basically rinsing it for like a few years, and then just decided that I should just play bass in real life. And then I kind of like started through Barbican in London, so they have creative learning projects. So it was a lot of stuff for like working class kids like in the London schools, like supporting them creatively. So they helped me a lot. Kind of just like, it would be a band of like kids 8 to 18 years old, and we'd be playing with adult musicians as if we were like co-collaborators rather than us teaching us things like that. So kind of like, yeah, I grew up almost like, my musical background is like quite free-spirited in that way. It's kind of like, there's no right or wrong. And then, yeah, came to Bristol for uni to study chemistry in 2017. And
Love this, eclectic. Go on.
Yeah, very random. But yeah, so I think it was November 2018, basically went to an Ezra Collective record signing at Rough Trade. Kind of had some, like London music scene's quite small, so I had some mutuals with a few of the members. They asked if there was a jam on. And at the time, I was the treasurer for Jazz Funk Soul Society at Bristol. So I was like, yeah, we have a jam on tonight, come through. Ended up playing with them. And then they were basically managed by the same person as Yazmin Lacey. So a few days later, I got a random like message request from this girlie on a private account. And I was like, this is spam, like this is a scam. But she was like, yeah, I managed Yazmin Lacey. Like the boys said you're really good, so if you want to join the band. I was like, yeah.
I love this.
Yeah, so stopped studying, dipped before January exams, started playing with Yaz, and then through that I kind of started to make a name for myself as a session bassist. Started playing with Ego LMA, and then Obongjayar, and then COVID actually hit. So I went back to uni in September 2020. But in that time, basically during lockdown, it meant that I could stop working as a session musician, just focus on my own musical voice. It meant that I could actually figure out how to produce finally, because I had so many ideas and like loads of little bass riffs like in my voice notes, and I was like, well, I don't know how the hell to use Logic. So yeah, finally was able to knuckle down, had lessons, also just a lot of YouTube tutorials. And the productions were sounding really crunchy at first. Like the sentiment was there and the ideas were there, but I didn't know a thing about mixing or anything or reverb.
That's so humbling though, especially if you've actually listened to like Marla's latest EP. It's so, you can see it, and we'll talk about it a bit more and we'll hear some of it as well. But I love hearing more about your journey because I think it really surprised me also getting to know that part of your journey too. Carry on.
So part of the journey actually, I had like a few demos and I started going to Saffron, who's big up Saffron, like they're incredible force in Bristol and in the UK. But started going to their sessions, and they do tech dissect sessions, which is kind of like, sometimes you go there, there'll be an amazing producer, you come with a little idea, and everyone critiques it. And through that, I've learned so much. And it was kind of like, it was just like an amazing support system, and it was kind of like, it just made me want to work harder, like kind of whittle away at my demos more. And then I got onto the Saffron's Artist Development Program, and then through that, I got their support to release the demos as an EP last November, which was incredible.
This. Okay, amazing. And I'm like, let me stop you there before you give everyone everything too soon.
I forgot to mention, but in 2020, I learned how to produce and also learned how to DJ, because it was, an era of wanting to dance, obviously not being able to go out. So literally just would rinse boiler rooms on YouTube, watched so many, which is kind of how I figured out the kind of transitions you need to use and like how to blend out of songs. And then eventually got out of my bedroom. Yes. And now I'm here.
Honestly, we're all the better for it. Thank you so much for sharing that journey, because I think it's relatable to hear the different paths people can take, and it's not always so linear, it's not always clear. And I think actually for yourself, what does being a multi-hyphenate mean to you, and actually how do you juggle that amongst touring and all the other stuff? Because you were on Loyal's US tour last year too.
Yeah, I was on his US tour as the bassist and also support DJ, which was incredible. But I'm not a hip hop DJ, I'm a dance music girlie. So I was literally like YouTube converting, like the far side, like in my hotel room, like. And it was also like cool to just read the room and be like, okay, in the US they really fuck with like Little Sims, Sample the Great, like they want to hear more of the UK stuff because you're a UK DJ, kind of bringing a new flavour, rather than trying to like out the hip hop heads who are like, I know like this Biggie tune, like give me a deep cut. But yeah, being a multi-hyphenate to me is kind of, it's just being a multidisciplinarian in a way, particularly that all your disciplines kind of support each other. Like for me, the bass playing supports my production because it means there's a flavour of myself and my own playing that features in all my tunes. And then obviously the production supports the DJing because it means I can play my own tunes out, make little weird bootlegs that kind of like make the sets unique. And then being a DJ, I think, being a DJ and bassist, obviously in the sense that I can, play with an artist, and then if they need a support DJ, be like, I can do that too. Like, if you're already on tour with someone, then it cuts costs for them because they don't have to fly someone out to support them. It also means, you get paid twice.
Love this. And carry on.
Oh no, that was it.
But I feel like, particularly your like EP, which was so highly anticipated, because I feel like I remember seeing you at Obongjayar's like literal gig and being like, who is that person on the bass with the bantus, and what the hell, this is amazing. And I think actually having your sound, having your music, having that release, and seeing the different like cross-genre but also cross-continental influences within the whole EP, like actually, what were the motivations behind the project?
So the main motivations with the project were basically, just kind of marrying all the genres that I loved. So obviously always loved dance music and house music, but really got into it over lockdown, and just kind of like seeing the variety of genres, because it wasn't just like, I guess like Fred again. I kind of realized there are so many like sub-genres of house music and techno, and kind of like rediscovering the black roots of dance music. And also marrying that with like the music. Like I just love Brazilian music so much, so it's like I really wanted to incorporate that, just like samba and MPB music into my dance music. And also because my parents are Congolese and I grew up listening to a lot of soukous music and ndombolo, just kind of bringing that flavour into it. So like a lot of my productions will have kind of like high-pitched guitars with like energetic riffs, and then the bass lines, the riffs are kind of like really syncopated. I'll show you later. I once did a Q&A, played one of my songs, and one of the questions was literally like, why are your bass lines syncopated like that? I was like, I don't know, like, it's not really something I think about. It's just, it's the music that I grew up on, so it kind of just like comes through in everything that I play.
I love that. And also I think we can take it for granted as well, because it's probably so natural to you, to embody that in yourself, but it's so beautiful how that does translate into your sound as well. Because you also have spoken word, and was there any distinctions between incorporating other types of just in terms of songwriting and also that into your project as well?
It was kind of like a lot of my songs, it would be an instrumental until I got funding and realised that I could actually pay to have singers on my tracks. The one that's spoken word with Solomon Obi, who's an incredible Bristol-based poet, that was, an instrumental that kind of grew out of, it's basically In My Corner is the third track of the EP, and it runs straight into the juvenile masculine. In My Corner started off as like an 8-bar or 16-bar loop that was like kick drum, 808 rim. I don't think there was even a bass at that point. It was literally like a percussion riff, percussion loop. And then one day I think it was the end of 2021, I basically came to the end of a massive writing block, made the song, and then just looped the last kind of 8 bars of it, which was how the juvenile masculine was born. And because it's kind of like a sparse, disparate kind of bed, a quite dubby, I just thought it'd be perfect for a spoken word artist to, it kind of gave space for there to be a message on top of it rather than maybe like a vocal hook or anything like that.
Love that. And I feel like even just that experimentation is so valuable, such a valuable part of almost producing in that way, because it's half the time it's the mistakes that you're making and it's the playfulness and experimenting that really pulls stuff together.
Yeah.
And I wonder for first, I love our mutual connection with Saffron, and anyone in the room who doesn't know Saffron Records, they're an incredible organisation based and record label based in Bristol, and they do a lot of work in supporting women, non-binary, trans and gender non-conforming people into the music tech industry, particularly kind of addressing the gender imbalance. And actually, you going through the project, almost working so closely with Saffron, what was that process releasing through them like? And actually, how is it, or if it has, how has it influenced maybe your music kind of sound or how you explore stuff today?
So I'd say the process was honestly just incredible, because obviously, coming up through the artist development program, kind of coming to the end of it, and we had a showcase at Strange Brew, and I was literally offhandedly just on the mic these are my demos, I'd love if someone helped me to release them as an EP, haha. And they stepped in and were absolutely, helped me with the funding applications. And from there, they were just amazing with just, because I had a clear vision of what I wanted. I was I'd love to reach out to Mix Mag and DJ Mag and all these organizations, and kind of had a hit list of things and publications and radio DJs that I wanted to hit. So they were so helpful in facilitating that for me, and also because they had the contacts already, that just meant it was really easy for me. It was oh, you already know this person directly, perfect. I
love that.
Yeah. And in terms of influencing my music, I'd say because it's such a, they're affiliated with such electronic music, I'd say it's kind of encouraged me to lean more into it. Maybe using sounds that aren't as, I guess, having fewer live instruments, even though it's kind of my thing. I'm just excited to maybe make a loop that's literally just drums, kicks, percussion, maybe a vocal, kind of experimenting with that side. And I feel they'll be really receptive and supportive.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, I've got so many more questions from that as well. I guess, in a way, the touring or almost working with other kind of artists who, at the time when you started working with them, did they kind of, seeing how they were being plugged and how marketing had worked for them, did that kind of help you understand when you were going to release your EP, you're I need to be here, I need to be there, did that help?
Absolutely, because my friend Hannah Roberts, who goes by Hannah with one N, had just released an EP, I think like
Love Hannah.
maybe a year. She's sick. Yes. But I'd seen how Saffron had supported her because she'd done the artist development the year before me. And I think one of the singles has like 1 million streams on Spotify now, like blown up. Yes. Like she's just killed it. And like Saffron was so incredible with her. Just seeing how they helped my peers and like my friends, I was like, I want a bit of that. Like.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, I love the fact that like, particularly as someone you're such a talented musician, and I think when it comes to playing out, particularly playing in gigs and kind of understanding how you want your sound to be heard, that is so specific. And I think, we recognize that we work in an industry that actually more times you have sound engineers who are going to tell you how they're going to put your sound to be heard. Actually, how have you found navigating that? And actually, was even working in spaces with Saffron as a community, like, had that helped in any way?
I'd say, like working with an organization whose goal it is to empower women and non-binary people in music, it just, gave me the power to just kind of step into those rooms, especially with sound engineers. Just kind of like owning the space and being like, I have been booked on this gig for a reason, or like I am, as a promoter, like putting on my EP launch, for example, at a venue, kind of like stepping into it like, I deserve to be here kind of thing, like I know what I'm doing, especially just like knowing what you're doing. Sometimes, especially as a woman, working in like a male-dominated industry, there's a lot of doubt, kind of like people questioning, like they kind of want to test you a little bit, and it's like, no, I promise.
They know better. And
yeah. It's like, it's my EP, like I know how I want it to sound out front of house, thank you, like, all of this stuff. But Saffron are just great, and also just the workshops they do is, because they do like tech dissect with the producers, the mix nights with DJs, and then the industry insights with like kind of like artist managers. You did one yesterday.
Yeah, they did one for them as well yesterday. It was great, actually. Love that.
So you just like get a really well-rounded idea of just like working in the music industry as a professional, and kind of like learning from these people who like, have like years and years of experience.
Amazing. And I think that's so valuable, because I think it's important. Just letting that go. I think it's so important to kind of, be really real with the fact that actually oftentimes when you are an artist, when you're so talented, that it's important to understand the industry that we have to navigate, and with that comes, trying to understand how to have your sound be heard how you intend. And beyond that, actually, I would love to, since we've been talking a lot about the music, I feel like these people deserve to hear some of the music. And I actually wanted to hear a bit more about what was the process of actually, creating All That We Have, which is both the actual EP name, but also a track. And wondering actually if that process allowed you to really kind of, expand your creative genres, and in what ways. I'd love to, hear more from you.
Sweet. I'll just get All That We Have up. Sorry, I had BTR2 up.
And also, this is so good, because I feel like actually, you don't know if I'm in the room with other producers, people who just love a bit of good music, or if you're musicians yourself. And so I think this is definitely going to be an interesting space where if you start to think of questions you have, particularly on kind of the styles of, how she puts together certain tracks particularly, feel free to start thinking about your questions as we listen as well, because I think that'll be really particularly quite fascinating. Right, seeing a behind the scenes of a track always makes me stressed.
I had a live session the other day, and basically I just had so many parts muted for my band to play, so I'm just unmuting the little bits and bobs. But that should be fine now.
Amazing.
Sweet.
So are you going to talk us through what we're actually about to hear? And what,
so this is... Oh, yeah. There are so many tracks. So I think I have to drag it.
Yeah, drag it across. Yeah, exactly like that.
Woo. And then
a bit more
sick. Wow.
Well done.
But now I can't see it.
Oh, that is very true. Can we? Oh wait. I know what we need to do. We need to just make it mirrored.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay, you might want to
Thank
close up
you.
everything else, but
Yeah. So yeah, this is all that we have. This was the final single of my EP. It came out on the 1st of November, featuring an amazing singer called Sophia Grant. I think, yeah, it was an instrumental. It basically started off as like an 8-bar loop with just the flute. Actually, I'll show you all the little bits and bobs and talk through it afterwards, but for now, I'll just play it.
love that.
Sorry, I just remembered from that session, I need to check if I unmuted the vocals. One sec. Oh yeah, you can actually see what I'm doing. So yeah, a lot of vocal tracks there. And
Where did you guys record this?
what, the track? So this was basically all recorded remotely. So all the bass I recorded in, all the percussion is a guy called Will Fry who like plays with Jungle now, I think. He's an incredible percussionist. And the singer, yeah, Sophia recorded it from home.
Love it.
So yeah, bits and bobs.
Yes, carry on.
Very locked down way of working.
Yes.
But yeah, I'll drop in from here.
Oh, mindful voices be my guide. Oh, be my guide. 'Cause something's changed. I'm not the same as I was. Something's changed. I'm not the same as I was. Something's changed. I'm not the same as I was. I'm not the same as I was. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you.
I loved that. Thank you. I mean,
I'm gonna put this down.
I'm still in the moment. So I've got to talk. Okay.
Right, maybe I'll explain some things with the bass.
Say, yeah. Do you want to share some more? What have we just heard, and what other elements we're seeing as well?
So yeah, you've basically heard 70 tracks of multiple different elements. So yeah, this is basically a track that started off as an 8-bar loop that was basically the flute, percussion, and 2 different kick sounds. So there are the kicks here. I think they're both from Splice actually, because I had my production teacher is called Foot Shooter, who's an amazing producer. He does mainly broken beat stuff. And he just sent me like loads of one-shots that were primarily techno. It was sorted by Drum Machine, so I had like a lot of 909. And I was like, originally had a 909 on this, but it was, because it's like light, airy, kind of like Latin house, it was just doing too much. So I had to go to Splice to like find a more appropriate kick sound. So it started off as a little loop. And the flute is actually a sample from a Brazilian song called Tartarue by a singer called Giovanna. So it was literally just the line. I'll try to find the little loop within this so it makes more sense. So it's literally just the octaves. So here. So I basically had this bass line, had that, and then so it was literally started like this for, I think I made this, it was one of the first things I made, so 2020, it was more or less that for like a year, maybe a year and a half. So yeah, I had the idea of like the kick comes out, comes back in. And then at some point, I actually revisited the original song where the flutes are from to get I think I actually borrowed the chord structure from the verse from that song. And I think I transposed it just to give it like a little flair, kind of like make it fit the song better. And then I actually had sent it to Yazmin Lacey, it was over lockdown, because I just wanted her kind of like light, soulful, like rich voice over the top, kind of like floating over it. I think a lot of Brazilian stuff is just like, it's just like beautiful, like floaty vocal. Had it sitting as a demo with Yaz for yonks, and then when it came time to actually kind of like finishing it off for the EP in last summer, actually, she was releasing, it basically didn't work out with her timeline, because she was releasing an EP and then, an album and then some more music. So it would have just been quite hard to schedule. So literally Sophia stepped in with like a month to go before the deadline.
Oh my God, well done.
So I sent her the instrumental and she just killed it, like sent me the 27 different vocal elements.
So had the song already had lyrics to it, or did Sophia almost like craft that with her bump as well?
Yeah, so one thing I'd definitely like to work on is I'm not a lyric writer. I would love to get into poetry, but honestly, I'm not a words person. I'm more of a...
You do so much.
Yeah, honestly, like, multi-hyphenate, but like, I stop at 3, please. So yeah, I just was like, this is the kind of vibe I'd like to go for. And melodically, I was like, I want it to start low, then the chorus is higher, the verse is lower. And then in the kind of like the interlude bit, I want there to be space for the guitar to sing more, so if you just do some BVs. And then she did that.
Love that.
I was really happy with it, yeah.
Oh my God, okay. And actually, to be fair, like, in terms of actually doing the producing and the production of it as well, like, how did you what was that process for you transitioning, getting more familiar with like the actual software, playing around with Logic? Like, what was that like for yourself?
It was definitely a lot of playing, especially because most of the time I was using Logic, I was kind of doing it, like in lockdown, I was literally just like, I want to challenge myself to make a tune in 10 minutes. And I was making, I want to say it was like deliberately shit. It was, I wanted to like go for, do you know, what's his name? DJ Assault, kind of like ghetto house.
Vibing.
Vibe, yeah. Just like playing around and kind of just being, kind of letting go of the idea that I have to produce to make something, because I obviously had 5 demos and was like, these are all the things I've made and it's going towards something, but now I just want to like just make for the sake of making. Just like being freer with that. And Logic, I've actually moved to Ableton now. I love Ableton so much.
I mean, I feel like everyone does a switch and they love the clap from the back, yes.
I was in denial for so long.
That is such a transition though, and what made you switch, and almost like talk us through like why Ableton, I mean I say why, but why Ableton?
So it was actually because of the functionality of Ableton for live shows. So obviously when you do a live show, like with me, I'll have the backing track as well as my live band. And with Ableton, you literally like drag your backing track into, I don't know who uses Ableton here, but you drag it into the session view, you bang your BPM in and then you just play it. And then it does it. Instead of like before when I was doing my first ever shows, I would literally just mute all the things on Logic. No, I think I'd actually bounce out the backing tracks, play it through like the music app on the bottom, or like QuickTime Player or something crazy.
Doing a thing.
Yeah. So then when I started using Ableton for the backing tracks and like the live, I just started fiddling about to produce. And it was also in Ableton, like just like making remixes, like you literally just drag something from Splice and it will just change the BPM for you immediately. Like on Logic, I'm fighting for my life, trying to make it change tempo without like warping it and stuff like that. Ableton's really great. It's just, but I don't know how to mix on Ableton, so I always bounce it out into Logic anyway. So by the end of the EP, I'd learned to mix, because I'd been sitting in on my mixing sessions for the tracks, so then at some point,
Love that. And so ultimately it's like trying to use the different tools you have available to yourself for the different needs and actually recognizing what you use for when. Yeah,
exactly. It's definitely like mixing Logic, producing Ableton. I think people who use Ableton primarily probably don't mix in Ableton. I think we're all agreed on the fact that the functionality is kind of limited in that sense, I like to think, unless there's something I'm missing and I just need to like bang out some YouTube tutorials, but...
I think it really varies. I know people who literally use like who have made the maddest stuff from like bare bones of crazy shit. And I think it's such a personal journey, and I think that's what's so valuable about these sessions. It's trying to understand actually what is that process for yourself that makes sense.
Yeah.
And how do you almost curate that style within your own desires and your own sound?
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah, it's definitely a sound thing. I think it's even like moving to Ableton, it's kind of brought with it almost like minimalism. Like obviously here, I have 70 tracks and most of them are percussion. Most of them are percussion. Because I started this track with, I think it was 3 spliced percussion loops, and was like, this is the vibe. And then Will sent everything, and I was like, well, I can't not use it all, damn, like. So yeah, like 3 different congas, maybe 4 different congas kind of thing.
Love
but now
that.
on Ableton, I'll have like 15 max. It's kind of like stripping it back and kind of learning that groove can come from like almost an absence of sound sometimes. Learning that there are things, it'll be like there'll be a shaker and there'll be like maybe a shaker kind of like doing something that's not just straight, like a straight pattern, kind of like more syncopated than kicks, like a little snare. I love doing a 808 conga that's panned. I've gotten really into that now. And those are like the bare bones elements now. And it's kind of like, relearning, the essence of like groove and being like, oh, it actually kind of bangs, even though there's not a lot going on.
I love that. And I think actually to always have the fact that your bass will always be something you can have a melodical like hook to. When I think you curate and you make and produce your own stuff, I think that's actually so much talent, because enough times not everyone can just whack out a bass and just do a sweet one. That is absolutely a bonus. And I think actually for your journey that's so special.
Yeah, I mean it feels amazing just to be like, just kind of like, I guess bassists are normally known as being like writers. And obviously I'll have my friends write lyrics and be like, I want the melody to go da-da-da, and like send like a really shit like guide vocal voice note, and then they like kill it.
Yeah.
And also with keys, actually, I'll kind of like do a bare bones like MIDI keys thing, like, can you do this but better? And then they'll, So it's, being a band leader as well as a writer, but accepting that I can't play every instrument in the world. And just being more confident in like directing people and being like, this is what I want. And if they send something, especially when it's your friends and they send something that's not what you imagine, it's being like, it's great. It's not what I wanted, maybe. And kind of like being able to like pinpoint the exact things. And just like communicating musical ideas better. Definitely something that's an ability that's grown as I've been a better producer, which is really nice.
I love that. And actually, to be honest, I feel like the thread, particularly across your whole journey, is such a great, amazing community in terms of how you collaborate. But like, what has community meant to you, and how do you approach collaborating? And is there any advice you'd have for people about how to collaborate in that way too?
So I'd say my community, like a lot of the people who featured on my EP were people I'd met, like being in the house band of Jamz in London. This is like 2019, so stopped going to uni December 2018. Was doing the whole music thing, like trying to be in house bands, trying to jam, trying to like meet everyone in London the whole of 2019. So Sophia was one of the band leaders of the jams I was in. But community to me is definitely something that has been very important to me. Obviously, as a bassist, having to like recruit my immediate community in music to fill in the holes that I can't fill in myself. Like Splice can only really go a certain distance, really. Like Saffron especially, like the community of having a safe space to like send my demos and have like really amazing constructive feedback has meant so much. It's like something that's really valuable. I think a lot of musicians, I feel like talking to the community, I feel like a lot of it is not feeling like you have other musician friends who are close enough to you sometimes, where you can like actually get feedback that's like tangible, rather than like your mum being like, oh, it's nice. Like you want someone to like go into the nitty gritty. It's definitely
that.
Community is like everything, and it can be hard, I guess, sometimes, especially in London when it seems like everyone's like doing bits. Sometimes you're just like, oh, this person, I don't know if I can approach them, but I feel like a lot of the time people are very open to helping out. Like, yeah.
I guess as advice as well, like, is there a particular way you kind of learn is like a best approach, particularly for certain types of people, particularly when you're like, oh, I just love their sound, man, but I don't know how to know, like, what kind of, maybe do you have any advice for anyone like that?
I would say, like, try to meet people in person as much as possible. Especially like if it's someone you know who's going to be like maybe playing a gig near you soon, or someone who's like in the same scene as you, like definitely try to make a connection in person. Like I feel like Bristol's really good for that. Like everyone goes to bounce, everyone's at the galley all the time. It's a really great place to meet people. Because I feel like, DMs can only go so far, especially maybe if you're not someone who kind of like has your whole musical portfolio on Instagram already. So the person will see this account and be like, who's this kind of thing? Like, so it's definitely better to just like talk about the music you like, and then make that rapport in person and kind of be like, oh, great to meet you, by the way. Could you play on this track kind of thing?
Yeah, that's such a good advice, and I think it's so important to like never like, obviously it's a privilege to have someone come to your place and know you can actually reach out, but actually enough times people are hanging around after their gigs, they literally are around and they do want to connect with those who've come out.
Definitely.
And sometimes if you're able to actually meet people, I feel like I have never asked someone to go for coffee and they've said no. Like, no one's ever been like, I don't want you to pay for me to have a coffee. Like, and I think often it's about finding the right time, but I think there's such a value in being able to be like really intentional and humble about the approach. Don't ask for the world, but to just be like, I am just interested in hearing more about your journey or your style, and I think that's so valuable.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really valuable to like ask people like about their journey and be like, how have you gotten to where you are? Because a lot of the time it's something you can like learn from. Just like little tips like, oh, I used to go to this organization, like especially in London, like everyone goes to or used to go to Tomorrow's Warriors, which is where like all the jazz heads like Ezra Collective, Nubia Garcia, like Binka Golding, Moses Boyd, like everyone and their dog Kokoroko, like God. So you kind of like, the more people you talk to, the more like kind of like threads you start to see in like patterns. So you just try to follow in other people's paths, I guess, the paths that have already been tread before you, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, completely. And actually, I'm super excited to definitely get to some Q&A as well, in case you guys have some questions. But I guess kind of almost to close, getting closer to it, is there anything that you have to do to almost protect your creative vision? And is there anything you factor in when costing up your own quotes, or like, things that you'd advise other people when thinking about actually, evolving your style?
Could you repeat the bit? Did you say something about quotes?
Yeah, like when you're costing up your quotes, like what kind of things do you factor in, and like how do you protect yourself in the journey?
I would say I'm trying to basically learn to say no to things more, because honestly it can be quite tempting to just be like a yes man, and especially with playing with other artists, like I found that there's so many artists. Sometimes people like ask you, oh, can you do this show? And like, you're available for the show date. And then you realize you're gonna have to do like 2 weeks of rehearsal beforehand. And it's just like, and then have to like learn the music before that. It's like really, you have to like give a lot to yourself. And especially as I'm kind of like trying to develop my solo show and stuff, it's like kind of, being able to say no so I can like put all that time and energy into developing my show and trying to sort out my gigs and stuff like that. It can be quite hard. And also trying to, I'm finding at the moment like I'm just having to dedicate so much time to admin, which is like the really like unsexy side of the music industry. I feel like not many people want to talk about like how many fucking emails you have to reply to. Kind of like just trying to set boundaries with myself and being like, sometimes I'm just like, I just have an idea and I like want to get into it, but I'm like, oh, I kind of need to do X, Y, Z. Like I probably should be doing this, and it's like just allowing myself to like, when I feel a burst of creativity, to just go with the flow and like let myself explore instead of being like, oh, maybe I should be, researching Especially with DJing, it's like, oh, I should be digging for tracks, but in digging for tracks, I just hear so much amazing music that I'm like, I need to make something like this kind of thing, and just allowing myself to do that, and then come back to the other things. Like being freelance, it's like there's so much freedom that I'm like, oh, maybe I should be doing X, Y, Z, but it's fine to just go with the flow.
Absolutely. And actually, even just listen to the tracks on CDR earlier, there was some banging, I was thinking she'd taken some photos. I was like, I need to follow this up. But that's so real, and I think it's such a journey about understanding, I guess, for yourself, like, what does it mean to kind of carve that out and actually protect yourself? Because yeah, it's not just the one gig you're playing, it's the rehearsals, it's the kind of the actual, like, the time you've taken to upskill as well, like having, you know, even your own equipment, having that insured, and actually like all these...
Yeah, the nitty-gritty of the music industry, honestly.
All these things. And just so we have time to actually ask other questions, I will just only ask one more myself. Music is such a powerful connector, and I really feel like, you know, it's great to hear from you, like, almost what kind of impact would you love your music to have? And actually, what kind of projects or music do you hope to explore more in the future?
So in terms of the impact, like, the root of the music I make is like, I just want people to dance, and I kind of love being able to introduce people to like different genres through my like one track. Like, for example, I've had people be like within my corner, they're like, oh, like the guitars, what kind of music is that? And it's like, oh, explaining like soukous, and then kind of like, yeah, just getting to talk about the music that I love, and like, yeah, introduce people to especially like non-Western music, I suppose, and like, yeah, the soukous and like the Brazilian music. So yeah, through that, I just want to have like almost like a legacy of like being a producer who like marries these genres well, I like to think. And then did you say what I want with my projects in future?
Future visions.
So at the moment I'm working with a house label called Toytonics, who are like German, kind of Italo disco, like very, like lots of genres within house, but I definitely love to release an EP on their label. Definitely kind of like explore more of the Latin house and the Afro house, minimal tracks. Just, yeah, challenging myself to make stuff that I've not done, which is, I guess more straight ahead house in the terms of stuff that's almost more commercial, I suppose, because I feel like my music is very me, but it can be hard to, when I'm trying to sell myself to like festivals and stuff. Like, I've been booked mainly for like jazz festivals, and it's kind of like I want more of the, I don't know, it's quite hard to like pinpoint it, but I just want to, explore like different realms of house music and try to challenge myself to make stuff that I love listening to, which is a whole heap. Like when I'm DJing, I love Batida music, I love Kuduro, love Baila Funk, would love to make some Baila Funk. My God. Yeah, I'm going to try to do that. Yes. All sorts, basically.
Oh, I love that. And also how exciting, because I feel like there's such a power in having your sound be so distinct in a way.
Yeah.
And actually, more than anything, not trying to carve out within their space sounds that they want to hear, but actually trying to find the middle ground where you get to just live your truth and deliver the things that actually you want to share, which is incredible. Okay, I mean, firstly, before we go on to questions, can we please just get a massive round of applause for Marla?
Thank you.
Thank you. And just actually, is there anyone already who has an initial question? Oh, okay, we've got a few. I mean, go to you and then we'll go to you, yeah.
Thank you. So I've got various bits of questions about the bass and just live instrumentation. I'm going to bundle it into a big basic bundle. So first things first, you said that you record a lot of this stuff at home.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like to know how you're doing that. Are you micing things up, or are you like going direct, and how you then process it?
Yeah.
And then also, I guess that was two parts of the first one. And then how do you then apply it in different situations? Because I presume you then are playing bass on different styles of tracks, and then obviously with the new movements into various bits of house, how you still going to apply the live bass?
Yeah. So basically, because I feel like with so actually, first of all, I literally just use my little Focusrite Scarlett Solo here, plug the bass in. It can only has an instrument input and a microphone input, and just go from there. And then in terms of how I process it, I normally sidechain the bass to a muted kick track. So I have a track that's just called sidechain, so the compression happens throughout the song, even when there's no kick. So it has like the pulsing kind of throughout. And then, always add some reverb onto the bass just to make it sound like it was actually recorded in a room. I think at some point I would quite like to maybe mic up an amp, just because I quite like this amp that I have. It was sent to me by my friend who works at Boss, which is really nice. And just kind of like experimenting with the bass sound, I suppose. But at the root of it, I just want it to sound fat. So the kind of stuff I'm doing now, like trying to push myself into the different realms of house music, at the root of it, I still want it to have a heavy bass sound, like thick. I think actually when I mix it, I basically boost the low end, but try not to clash with the kick too much. Then have a bit of the mid, so there's more of the fret sound, so it sounds still, so it cuts through a bit rather than just kind of like being a subby bed. Especially with all the percussion in the middle there, you want to I wanted to like push up the high mid frequencies.
Are you compressing that all, or
compressing the bass?
Yeah, the bass sound.
Yeah. So the bass has... It's not letting me scroll for some reason. But it has compression. It's basically side chained, to this this channel here, just so it's kind of pulsing. And especially these bass sounds, the ones that are kind of like the... So I don't know if you can hear the compression there. So it has more of like a pulse, rather than kind of like obviously being like a flat sound. Especially trying to incorporate different, like trying to fill out all these instrument roles. I didn't have actually any electric guitar in it because I wanted to have the bass kind of like filling out that role with these bits. So kind of trying to manipulate the bass sounds in a way that means they don't kind of clash with each other, like when you have three basses playing at once, trying to like compress it and like leave space for each component.
Thank you.
Thank you. The thing is, I'd just like to thank you so much for playing live, because that told me more about you than anything you've said.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, that might be a bit bad, but I think the thing is, I don't know, when I think about it in the way that you've portrayed how you've done all this stuff, the thing is that I think I don't know, it just puts me to mind of people. So I'm thinking about Kim Clark from Defunct. I don't know if you know her.
Kim Clark?
Kim Clark from Defunct.
Oh
God,
Defunct.
Defunct.
Okay.
Thermonuclear sweat? We're going back a bit here. But the thing is, I think, and you're playing 5-string as well.
Yeah.
And you're playing Fender Jazz.
Yes.
You're not playing a Music Master.
A Music Man.
A Music Man, yeah.
No.
And the thing is, that's one of the things I was in love with. But I think what I actually heard tonight was such an instinctive feel that made me feel that, and this is the thing, you showed all this Logic stuff and stuff like that, but the fact is the live stuff really spoke to me.
Thank you.
I think that's what's important in some of this dialogue we're having about doing stuff with DAWs and all the rest of it and playing live.
Yeah.
I think what's important is the fact that you're playing sung over the top of anything that we were looking at, which I think is really important, because it basically means that the playing starts to take center stage rather than this stuff. And we work on this stuff all the time, I do as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think I'm really very privileged to actually have seen that, and I absolutely fucking love it, actually.
Thank you.
So I just have to say that. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks. Yeah, it's something that I wanted to put a lot of importance on. Like when I was making the songs, I was very much like, I do want to play this live at some point. So I do want to kind of, have it kind of like sounding, like I want the recording to sound as it would sound live. And then the live tracks are like, we kind of like stay true to the recordings as much as possible. But with like a few of my other songs, like where I'm kind of playing a bass riff, I'm trying to like adapt it to live to make it just a bit more interesting, especially in scenarios where maybe I'm doing a support slot where the promoter can't like afford to have my full band, so it might just be me and like a keys player, and like adapting the bass lines. At first I was really precious about it because I was like, oh, this is how I wrote it, this is how it has to be played. It's like, no, you just fuck around with it a little bit, like just like improvise around it kind of thing. And yeah, especially because at some point I would love to like sing and play at the same time, but yeah, especially because I can't do that at the moment. So it's, having the bass as my voice, like it's great to hear that it really sang. So thank you.
I actually have a question. Slightly more boring one, but how do you, when you're like programming drums at home, how do you go about that? Are you like do it with a mouse? Are you bashing it out on a MIDI keyboard using pads or what? Or?
I'm a mouse girly. I have a Akai MK2 Mini, like a MIDI keyboard with like pads. But I'll literally I'll do it kind of like 4 bars at a time normally, and then I kind of like duplicate it and then glue it together and do that kind of thing. And then especially when I want like a pickup kick sound, I'll do a different track so that it doesn't clip it. Like here you could see, if I were to put them on the same track, then you would get like the cut sound, because it would be cutting this one prematurely. When I'm programming drums, I just love doing it by dragging it. Like I do see if like the first 4 bars bangs, and then if it does, maybe I'll like move the snare around, and then go from there, and then add the percussion, and then
Wow, amazing! It definitely sounds like you're playing it. It doesn't sound like you're doing it with a mouse.
Oh, thanks.
So cool.
Another question.
Sorry, me again. On from that then, is your 2 bits, is your creative process similar then each time you create a new track? Are you coming up with some basic loop, maybe jamming along to it, and then seeing what ideas riff off from that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just hold this microphone and keep talking. You go, please.
So a lot of the time it starts with a loop, and especially like the beauty of house music is like once you have a loop, you can like just fuck around with the drums basically, and like just don't bring in the kick for a bit, which is what I did here. What I did on one other track, I think the kick drops at like 2 minutes in. The beauty of that is like you can stretch it out for as long as you want, and like you can just make like a 16-bar loop can just become a track like really quickly. But my process recently has been starting with a bass riff, and then I kind of like when I'm listening to the riff back, almost like just trying to like not beatbox but like just sing percussively over the top as like what drum groove kind of like comes naturally to me, and then try to replicate that. And then it'll be like bare bones, like figuring out where the kicks needs to hit, and then kind of like figuring out where the groove needs to sit in terms of like where the percussion needs to go, and like what hits, like what beats need to be emphasized, and then build it up from there melodically. Well, adding the harmony after that.
So that was going to be my second part of the question. It's are you drawing on anything to help construct the groove? Are you drawing on influences for certain percussive elements and rhythms, or are you just letting it come to you? Are you thinking kind of what the track needs, or if it's a mixture of the two? How are you kind of blending it?
Yeah, so sometimes it's definitely a mixture. So sometimes I literally have to like, I know what I want it to sound like, but then I'm kind of like going through splice, like maybe going through the splice loops and trying to figure out if the thing I want already exists, or I just figure out that I have to kind of like make it myself and get the one shot and get the one little shaky hit and then like build it from there. Or sometimes I'll hear a rhythm in a song or like a hi-hat rhythm, and I want to take that element and like put a different kick pattern underneath it. Or like sometimes it's, a lot of the time it's like hearing like an Afro house kind of rhythm and being like, I want this specific thing, like I want this rim pattern over a totally different song, which is kind of why I started doing like bootleg remixes. Like, I want this and I want this from this song, and then like marrying them. But now, it's like just taking like sometimes little elements from different songs and like marrying them together.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have one last question? Okay, come on, we'll do you two and then Mr. Matt. Is that okay?
Yeah. Just a quick one, because you have so much going on in one track. At what point do you know that it's finished, and how do you set those deadlines for yourself?
Yeah, that was quite a hard one because with the EP it was kind of like my tactic I wanted to do, because I had funding and I could have a drip feed kind of roll out. So I'd drop a single, put like marketing into it, have artwork for it. And the way like streaming works now, like if you want to pitch something to like Spotify and have it added to an editorial playlist, it means you can only do one at a time, which meant an EP of 5 songs. It's like, which one do I pick to like be added to the whatever, new music, fresh finds, whatever. Sorry, what was the question again?
Just how do you decide when the track
So, because I was doing single by single by single, it's kind of like I'd started this track in 2020, and then it was literally a thing of like the deadline's coming, and I just have to trust myself that what I'm doing is enough. It's like I have enough elements here, and it's kind of like almost picking away at it now and carving it out, and just believing that it's like, okay, I just need to have the vocal on it and then I'm done, rather than being like, oh, maybe I can add like a new like B section, But a lot of the time it's like getting feedback from other people and being like, this instrumental is really good, just add the vocal kind of thing. A lot of the tracks were, once I'd had it grow from a loop to an actual track, it was like sometimes like, I kind of want to add this percussion. But just trusting that it grooves hard enough as it is.
It's probably a two-part question, but where do you see yourself in 6 months?
In 6 months?
And how do you think you can improve yourself among those 6 months?
That is a good question. So 6 months is October. Yeah. Damn. Women in STEM. So in 6 months, I basically would love to see myself with a booking agent, because I'm at a point in my career where I definitely want to put less time into like trying to book the gigs and more time making a music to add to my sets. Because at the moment I have a tight 45, would love to have a tight hour, and then also be able to pick and choose the songs that I want to do, rather than being like, these are all the songs that I have plus 2 covers. So I definitely, in 6 months' time, have a booking agent, have maybe 3 songs ready for a demo. Have the songs that I would love to put on the next EP for Toy Tonics, the kind of like straight ahead, more minimal house songs that are still very Latin inspired and Afro house inspired. Also have, just maybe played with more, even though I said like it's hard to say no to things, I would love to play with more artists in the next 6 months. I would love to play with a Cuban, like with a salsa band. I really want to like improve myself in that respect. Because I've been playing primarily with like hip hop jazz artists, but I'd love to get a feel for other genres as a session musician, and brush up my skills in other genres basically, and then add that to my tracks.
Amen.
Thank you.
Mwah.
And just to say, Honestly, thank you so much also for great questions. I think it was really good to kind of have a mix of actual production, producing, but also just a visioning and really to explore different aspects to, you know, your artistry. And just to close off, thank you so much to everyone who's listening, everyone who's here in the room with us. And can we please have a final round of applause for Marla Kether?
Thank you all so much.
Amazing. And I've been your host, Emanuela Blake-Morsey, and this has been CDR. Thank you so much. Okay.